Lana Kelly was, by all standards, the epitome of beauty. Her symmetrical features, high cheekbones, and striking blue eyes had earned her a place among the top models in the world. Her face adorned the covers of major fashion magazines, and she walked runways in Paris, Milan, and New York. She was, without a doubt, at the peak of her career. But beauty in the modeling world is a fickle thing. It is both a gift and a curse, fleeting and fragile. Lana had always been hyper-aware of that. She watched young girls enter the industry, rise quickly, and then disappear just as fast. The fashion world had no mercy, and she knew her time at the top was limited. What bothered her most, though, wasn't the ticking clock of age or the inevitable lines that would one day crease her perfect skin. It was the fear that her success was due more to her looks than her talent. It ate away at her confidence, whispering in her mind that she was replaceable, that her beauty was a mask, and once it faded, she would be discarded. Lana wasn't always so insecure. At the beginning of her career, she had been confident, fierce, and unshakable. But with every passing year, as more faces appeared in the industry, newer, younger, fresher, her anxiety grew. She obsessed over every tiny imperfection, every pore, every strand of hair that was slightly out of place. She sought out treatments, skincare regimens, and cosmetic procedures, anything that could keep her appearance flawless. Then, one night, after an exhausting shoot in Paris, Lana was scrolling through her phone in her hotel room. Her body ached from hours of posing under harsh lights, but sleep eluded her. The endless parade of perfect faces on Instagram only deepened her unease. Everyone looked immaculate, no blemishes, no flaws. She felt her anxiety rise, a tightness in her chest. Suddenly, an ad appeared in her feed. It was simple, just a black square with white text that read, "Perfection is attainable. Let us help you become unforgettable. DM for details." Lana paused. It wasn't unusual for her to receive random advertisements. She was a model after all. But something about this one felt different. She clicked on the account. The page was almost bare, save for a few cryptic posts. One showed a before and after of a woman who had been transformed from ordinary to stunningly beautiful. Another depicted a close-up of a flawless face, the caption reading, "Perfection is within reach." Without thinking, Lana sent a DM. The reply came almost instantly. "You've been chosen. We can give you what you desire. Meet us at 35 Rue des Ombres, midnight. Come alone." Lana hesitated, her fingers hovering over the screen. She knew it was reckless. She didn't know who these people were or what they were offering, but the promise of perfection, it called to her. She had spent her entire career chasing an unattainable ideal. What if, just this once, it was within reach? Against her better judgment, she decided to go. After all, what did she have to lose? Rue des Ombres was tucked away in a forgotten corner of Paris, a narrow, winding street far from the glittering avenues of the fashion district. As Lana walked down the cobblestone alley, the streetlights grew dimmer and the air felt colder. She checked her phone. 11:58 p.m. She was close. Her heart pounded in her chest as she approached number 35, an old, weathered building that seemed abandoned. The windows were dark, and the door looked like it hadn't been opened in years. For a moment, she considered turning back. This was insane, but before she could make up her mind, the door creaked open. "Miss Kelly?" a voice called softly from the darkness inside. Lana swallowed her fear and stepped through the door. The inside of the building was nothing like its exterior. It was sleek, modern, and minimalistic. The air smelled faintly of lavender, and the lighting was soft, casting everything in a warm glow. A woman in a tailored black dress approached her, her face a mask of professional calm. "We've been expecting you," she said, her voice low and soothing. "Please follow me." Lana was led down a long hallway into a room that resembled a high-end spa. The walls were lined with mirrors, and a plush reclining chair sat in the center. A table next to the chair held an array of strange, gleaming instruments, none of which Lana recognized. I'm not sure what I'm here for," Lana said, her voice wavering slightly. The woman smiled, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. "You're here because you seek perfection. You're here because you want to be more than just beautiful. You want to be unforgettable." Lana nodded slowly. "Yes." "We can give you that," the woman said, motioning to the chair. "Our procedure is revolutionary. You will never need makeup, never need surgery, never worry about aging or imperfections again. Your face will be flawless, always." Lana's heart raced. It sounded too good to be true, but the desperation she had been feeling overwhelmed her better judgment. She needed this. She needed to stay relevant, to stay perfect. Without another word, she sat in the chair. The procedure was unlike anything Lana had ever experienced. It was painless, almost soothing, as the woman worked around her face with the strange instruments. The world around her faded into a dreamlike haze, and her body relaxed completely. She could feel something happening, her skin tightening, her features sharpening, but it wasn't unpleasant. If anything, it felt like her body was finally aligning with the perfect image she had always envisioned. When the woman finally stepped back, Lana blinked herself out of the daze. Her head felt light, almost weightless. "It's done," the woman said, her tone final. Lana sat up slowly, her heart pounding with anticipation. She turned toward one of the mirrors lining the room, expecting to see herself transformed, perfected. But what she saw in the mirror made her stomach drop. Her face was still beautiful, there was no denying that, but it wasn't her face. Her features were sharper, her cheekbones more pronounced, her lips fuller, but it was wrong. Her eyes, those striking blue eyes that had defined her career, were hollow, lifeless. It was as if the spark, the essence that made her Lana Kelly, was gone. This isn't me," she whispered, reaching up to touch her face. Her skin felt strange under her fingers, almost plastic. The woman behind her smiled, the same cold, emotionless smile as before. "You wanted perfection, and perfection, my dear, is no longer you. It's what we make you." Panic surged through Lana as she stared at her reflection. Her eyes darted around the room, to the other mirrors, and to her horror, she saw her reflection in all of them. But they were all slightly different. In one mirror, her nose was more angular. In another, her lips were thinner. Each reflection showed a different version of her, as if her face was changing in real time, adapting, morphing. "What's happening to me?" she gasped, backing away from the mirrors. "You wanted to be unforgettable," the woman said, her voice calm, almost clinical. "But to become unforgettable, you must become everyone's ideal. Your face is no longer fixed. It will shift and change to match whatever version of perfection the viewer desires." Lana's mind reeled. "That's impossible. No face can do that." The woman stepped closer, her gaze cold and detached. "You no longer have a face of your own. You are a canvas, a mirror to the desires of others. When people look at you, they will see their perfect vision of beauty, but you will never see the same face twice." Lana's breath came in short gasps as she looked back at the mirrors. Her reflection was shifting again, her nose shrinking, her eyes widening slightly. She stumbled back, nearly tripping over the chair. "This can't be real," she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "Please, undo this. I don't want this anymore." The woman's smile faded, replaced by a cold, hard look. There is no undoing perfection. Lana left the building in a daze, her mind racing. The woman's words echoed in her head as she stumbled down Rue des Ombres. Her face felt foreign, like a mask she couldn't take off. Every time she caught a glimpse of herself in a window or reflective surface, her reflection was different. Sometimes she looked younger, sometimes older, but it was never her. It was never Lana. She tried to return to her hotel, but she couldn't face the idea of seeing herself in the bathroom mirror. She didn't want to know what she would look like next. Instead, she wandered aimlessly through the dark streets of Paris, her thoughts spiraling out of control. Hours passed before she finally made her way back to the hotel. Her legs ached, and her eyes burned from crying. She hadn't seen anyone on the streets, but she feared the moment she would. She feared what they would see when they looked at her. She slipped through the hotel lobby without making eye contact with anyone. Her body felt heavy, her heart pounding in her chest, as she rode the elevator up to her room. When she entered, the first thing she did was cover the mirrors. Every reflective surface was a threat, a reminder of what she had become. She curled up on the bed, her body trembling with exhaustion and fear. The following day, Lana woke to a dozen missed calls from her agent, designers, and photographers. She was supposed to meet with several top designers in the morning to discuss new campaign offers, but the thought of facing anyone sent a wave of nausea through her. Still, she couldn't avoid them forever. Her career was all she had left. She had to push through. Dressing carefully, she pulled on a pair of oversized sunglasses and wrapped a scarf around her face before leaving her hotel room. She kept her head down as she made her way to the meeting, avoiding every reflective surface along the way. The designers greeted her warmly, but Lana could feel their eyes on her. As the meeting went on, she noticed something strange. Their expression shifted. Some of them smiled more, while others looked at her with a mix of awe and envy. It was subtle at first, but soon she realized what was happening. They weren't seeing her. They were seeing their asterisk version of perfection. She could see it in their eyes, in the way they spoke to her. To each of them, she was becoming something different. Lana's heart raced as she excused herself, fleeing the meeting and rushing out of the building. She ducked into an alley, her breath coming in ragged gasps. She had thought she could manage it, that she could live with this curse, but now she understood. She was no longer herself. She was a living, breathing illusion, a reflection of everyone else's desires. She would never see her true face again. Months passed, and Lana's career soared higher than ever. She became a sensation, her face appearing on every magazine cover, her image plastered on billboards across the world. Designers clamored to work with her, photographers begged for the chance to shoot her, but none of them knew the truth. Every time Lana looked in the mirror, she saw someone else staring back at her. Every person she met, every gaze that fell upon her, twisted her face into something new. She had become a chameleon, a living doll molded by the desires of others. She was unforgettable, just as the seamstress had promised. But Lana no longer knew who she was, and that, she realized, was the true price of perfection.